and welcome back to another episode of Diatonic Dissection, where we crack open music to see what makes it tick. In this video, we are continuing our look at Hades 2 with Edge of Erebus, the music that accompanies you through the densely wooded first zone of the game. If you want the sheet music for this video as well as all my others for free, then head on over to the Patreon, patreon.com/Diatonic Dissection. There's a link down below to save you trying to spell it out. Let's get started. The tempo is 95 BPM and the key is G minor, but it's written in the harmonic minor, so it has a G flat in addition to the B and the E, so we're just going to say G minor. Although, saying it out loud now while recording this voiceover, I realised that all the sheet music was filmed in A minor, so whatever, this video has taken so long to make I don't care at this point. Possibly the most important thing about the track is the time signature. It's in 11/8, so I hope you enjoy counting to 11 repeatedly. For the sheet music, it's divided up into bars of 6 and 5/8 to make it a little bit easier to read. When it's 11, it can be a bit difficult as it gets a bit visually overwhelming. Another quick thing to mention before we get started is guitar tunings. The acoustic guitar part is D-A-D, ABD, as many folk instruments use open tunings, and the electric guitar in the latter half is tuned to drop A. Edge of Erebus is about 7 minutes long, so it's going to be easier to break it down on a macro level before we go down to any kind of micro level. The whole track is made up of essentially 3 different themes that appear at different points. For the sake of simplicity, I'll refer to these as 1, 2, and 3, and they sound like this. So, going forward, I'll be referring to the themes by their number on the section card, rather than having to continually try and find new things to say each time. Okay, now with all our admin out of the way, let's get started. As is pretty much the case for the whole soundtrack, the main melody is done on a synth, and it doesn't start, in this case, until bar 7. When it gets going, it's mainly held note, but as the time is 11/8, you'll need to get used to the feel. The guitar part, for most of the acoustic half of the track, is sliding around chords, and thanks to the open tuning, that is much easier. You even get to keep the same chord shape for section A. The bass part for section A is super duper simple, as it is literally just 2 notes. It does serve the purpose of really illustrating the feel of the time signature, but also the slight swing feel that it has. It would be more accurate to call the drum part a percussion part for the acoustic half of the track. There is a basic part, which is what you will see in the video clips, but there are extra percussion parts buried in the mix that I've included in the background. So the sheet music in the clip will show these parts as well. Section B is the first appearance of Theme 2, and it has a particular sound as the first section moves from G flat to G, and the major seventh to the root is a movement usually reserved for the end of a phrase, so it gives the whole melody a slightly uneasy feeling. The guitar part is also playing this melody. At first it's the same rhythm as the synth and bass parts, but then it transitions into chord strumming. As it's an open tuning, you won't have to change your chord shape. Then you return to the first part after that. I realised while filming this that Edge of Erebus has the same time signature as Whipping Post by the Allman Brothers Band. So let's make it a bit more bluesy, shall we? The percussion part is a bit weird as there are, relatively speaking, enormous gaps between notes and no backbeat or repeating part like a hi-hat to hold it all together, so it may take a little bit of getting used to in terms of the feel. Like the other parts, it returns back to theme 1 after the new melody is done. Section C starts out with a new melody briefly, and then it's back to theme 2. When it switches back to theme 2, the voice of the main melody switches over from the synth to a bell-like sound. I've used a glockenspiel for this version. The guitar has some new chords to play with theme 3, but then it is back to the same chords for theme 2. The bass is following the guitar, but you do get to do some very satisfying string slides. The percussion for Section C has a slight variation on the main part with a more snare-based sound on something more resembling a backbeat. After that, it's back to the part with the big gaps between notes. Both sections C and D start with theme 3, but in the latter part you're doing a variation of theme 1 leading into section E. guitar, you're doing held chords for theme 3, and then you're back to the strumming pattern of theme 1. The bass part is a slight variation on theme 3 because it has more fifth drums, but then it is back to the first bass part and all 2 notes of it. As it's themes 3 and 1, the basic parts are pretty much the same for the drums, just theme 3 has more of a backbeat. All of these parts are the same as their respective themes, so here are all the clips together. and here are all the sections together. Before we start using regular drums and distortion for the guitar, there is just one quick return to theme 1 for section F. And here is all of section F together. Couple of bars where we hear a return of the glockenspiel/bell sound, but don't worry, it'll be back much more in later sections. When the synth comes back in, it's playing theme 1 as it has done before. There are now two guitar parts, a lead and a rhythm. The rhythm part is pretty simple and pretty much just follows the bass. The lead guitar only appears for 3 bars in section G, and it's playing something quite interesting. It starts out playing the same melody, harmonizes in thirds for 1 bar, and then the same melody again. However, it is moving upwards while the other melody parts are moving downwards. Again, the bass is doing exactly the same thing as it was doing for themes 1 and 2. From here to the end of the track, you are now playing on a regular kit. For the build-up across bars 119 and 120, just be careful of the time, as it took me about 20 attempts to actually get it correct. After that, you're just doing a fairly heavy groove until you get to theme 2, where you're following the melody itself. Here is section G altogether. This is the first section of Edge of Erebus, where we have all 3 themes together in short succession. We also have the bell sound playing the same part as the synth in the second half of section H. For this clip, I'll have both parts playing together in the audio, as they are just playing an octave apart. There isn't much else to say, as these parts are pretty much the same as they have been previously. Also, the focus of this section is not the melody. You'll see what I mean when we get to the suffering that is the drum part. The rhythm guitar is doing much the same as it was before, but when we get to theme 3, the chords move up the neck and change slightly. These chords start out as power chords and then end up with C and C minor chords, before going into theme 2 when you get the chance to play that chunky drop A tuning. The lead guitar is also playing the theme 2 melody, so I will include that audio on the clip. Very little to say about the bass part, as it's doing what it has been doing in the past. Now we are at the fun bit of sections H and I, the drums! There are loads of drum fills, so enjoy trying to read this sheet music. It took me pretty much a full day of attempts to get it even vaguely clean. The synth part for section I is pretty simple, so I don't have anything to say. Here's the clip. Both of the guitar parts are just doing the usual chords for theme 3. The rhythm guitar is doing the lower ones and the lead the highs. So here are the rhythm and lead guitar clips back to back, and hey, why not add the bass as well, as there's not much to say about it. More fills on the drums. Thankfully, they aren't too fast, but they are still a bit fiddly. The synth and glockenspiel parts are playing together again, this time with an actual counterpoint of sorts at first, before it gets to theme 2. When we get to theme 2, there is an interesting call and response with the synth playing the theme first, and then the glockenspiel playing it afterwards. When we get to theme 3 at the end, the synth is playing it on its own. I came to realise while putting this all together that theme 3 crosses the break between sections J and K. The guitars and bass are pretty much doing the same thing as they were doing before, so here are all the clips. The drums get to do something a bit different now with a pattern based around the toms, giving it a proper NYC hardcore build-up feel for theme 1. In theme 2, you get a new part based around quarter notes on the crash cymbal. The section closes out with, you guessed it, even more drum fills. before, I realised that I accidentally put a break in the middle of theme 3. When the part starts up again, both the synth and glockenspiel are doing what they did in section J and playing at the same time. The lead guitar isn't doing anything in section K, and so the rhythm guitar takes over with the higher chords, and then it is back to theme 1 with some pinch harmonics at the start of each bar. The bass is just doing the same thing that it has been doing for themes 3 and 1, so nothing to add. The drums are doing some more fills for theme 3, and then it's back to hi-hat work for theme 1. That's it. Jesus, this was a long one. Hopefully, identifying the themes and pointing them out made this video a bit easier / less agonizing to follow. If you want the sheet music for this video as well as all of my others for free, then head on over to the Patreon, patreon.com/Diatonic Dissection. There is a link down below to save you trying to spell it out. Thank you very much for watching if you're still here, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!